I would like to call to order the June 27th, 2023 TPA Executive Committee meeting. Staff, could you please call the roll so we can establish our quorum?
Joel Flores,
Present.
Michael Napoleon,
Here.
Fred Pinto,
Here.
Maria Marino is absent, Chelsea Reed.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. Do we have any additions, modifications, or deletions to our agenda today?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, super. So I am going to ask if I can get a motion to adopt our agenda.
Moved.
All right, beautiful. So we've got Mayor Pinto with the motion and seconded by Mayor Flores. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we can move on ahead. The agenda has passed unanimously. All right, so instructions have been provided on how to provide public comment in our agenda. Staff, do we have any comments that have been received from the public today?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Are there any members here today that would like to say anything before we begin? No? All right, great. Thank you all for being here. I'm glad we have a quorum. Do please always make sure you RSVP ahead of time so we can plan ahead. We really appreciate that you're here. So seeing no further member comments, I would just again thank you for being here. We're going to move right on to our action items. We're going to talk about a merit increase for our executive director for the fiscal year of 2024. I'm going to invite our TPA executive director, Valerie Nielsen, to please present.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for being here today. I know we haven't met in a while, but one of the duties of the executive committee is to annually meet to evaluate the executive director and also for us to present to you our strategic plan and our recommended updates that we'll bring to the board next month. So I have a presentation here to give you a little bit of an overview about this past year. It's been a great year. I appreciate all of you have been very involved. And yeah, as I mentioned, I'll just be providing an overview of activities this past year and welcome your feedback on my performance. And then we're going to talk about the strategic plan. This week is the last week of the fiscal year 2023. So next month we're bringing to the committees and the board our recommended updates to the strategic plan. I also want to provide a brief update on our interlocal agreements, health insurance, and human resources, and then make sure the next date that we have on the hold still works. So with that, next month we will be having on the dais an annual report that our PR director, Melissa Murray, and PR specialist, Cassidy Sparks, put together, and it came out really nice. I also want to mention Cassidy will be leaving us soon to a new opportunity. So we want to thank her for her service. Thank you for all your hard work and helping us make our documents so beautiful and get our public involvement. So this is what the report's going to look like. It highlights actions in each of our UPWP tasks. And we did a lot this year. I know a lot of you participated in a lot of our activities, but we did a lot of things happen this year. I'll just mention, obviously, we adopted our TIP a couple weeks ago. We broke the record for proclamations for Florida Bicycle Month with 16 proclamations. Thank you to all of you guys for doing that. We have 15 projects broke ground under construction this fiscal year. 6 new municipalities adopted Vision Zero. We supported 14 applications for grant funding. We're actually writing another letter of support for Streets and Roads for All this week for the next round, the Village of Palm Springs. And yeah, we have 426 projects in our TIP. So a lot going on, a lot of exciting stuff in the transportation world. With Engage the Public, we really broke some records this year as well. We had some lofty goals, but we beat them. And lots of media stories, social media followers, we broke our goals. Lots of impressions, public comments as well. So we really got a lot of public engagement, new website that was launched. I know Melissa and Cassidy worked really hard on that. And one of the reasons Ruth said, and when Ruth is our new executive assistant coming over here, she was impressed by our website. So a lot of great work in Engage the Public this year. Also and Plan the System, we have our core products, the Transportation Improvement Program. As I mentioned, we just adopted that for the next 5 years. We are been working, there's a lot going on. We had 2 downtown intermodal coordination workshops, trying to work more and more with the private and public sectors, trying to coordinate all the efforts that are happening with economic development and transportation, and kicking off our 2050 long-range transportation plan. We're about to get started on that public outreach and input into that. It's a process that's going to last all the way through the end of next year. So lots going on the right here in the green. We mentioned, I just mentioned 6 new municipalities adopted Vision Zero, but now we have a total of 13 because last year we had several as well. We held workshops on Vision Zero, complete streets, and so proud of Village of Wellington for being named top in Florida and top 10 in the nation. I think number 6 in the nation for the best complete streets policy.
Right next to them.
Yep.
Neighbors.
You can come use our
So
street.
it rubs off.
So great, very, very proud of that. And so lots of great things going on there. Prioritizing funding, not only everything that we have in our transportation improvement program and the types of projects that we're prioritizing thanks to everyone's collaboration, but also those discretionary grants. In total, it was about over close to $2 million that were awarded here in our county for discretionary, but including the rail safety grants that we helped, we supported. In total, it was over $110 million awarded. So that's really exciting because there's a lot of transportation discretionary grants out there right now. And so it's great to partner with our local municipalities, SFRTA, transit agencies, and everyone is going after these grants. And under implement projects, we had some groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings. On the right, you see the ribbon cutting is of Brant Bridge. This was one of the projects we funded to improve connectivity to schools, ped bike facilities. The Lake Worth Road project is breaking ground for the first ever separated bike lanes on a FDOT roadway, which is really exciting. And we also completed the Okeechobee and State Road 7 multimodal corridor study. And our first ever diverging diamond was completed, which is really exciting. This Friday, where staff is doing a walk audit down in Boca to go check it out and see what we can do better for the future ones that come. Our other goal is collaborate with partners. So we did a lot of that. And this is a picture at the Safe Street Summit with Mayor Reed, our chair, and also Vice Mayor Michael Napoleon, who received, so Natalie Crowley from the city of Palm Beach Gardens received our Complete Streets Champion Award. She's also the vice chair of our technical advisory committee and the planning and zoning director of Palm Beach Gardens. But as far as our community award for Complete Streets Champion, Village of Wellington received that this past year. So it's very exciting. Some of the goals that we had: assisting local governments with mobility plans and studies. We wanted to do 4 of those. We did. Royal Palm Beach, we were a partner for their mobility plan. Lake Worth Beach, also studying US1 for lane repurposing. Juno Beach and Jupiter as well for ped bike improvements, and also North Palm Beach, working with them on their lane repurposing project. And helping them with studies on that. We did multiple events. We were hoping to do 4. We did 6, including those downtown intermodal coordination workshops, complete streets workshop, Vision Zero workshop, bicycle safety webinars, our Austin Peer Exchange, something that we were hoping to do years ago, but then the pandemic hit us. So happy we got that. And then a transportation land use panel. Also very exciting. And I know Melissa is ready to be done with them and share. And Cassidy was our model in these videos, but last year we did a mobility options video, which was basically highlighting all the ways you can get around in this county. Actually, Mayor Pinto, you had suggested this a couple of years ago. So we did that video. And then this past year we did how to ride. So not just here are your options, but how do you actually get on Palm Tran? How do you get on Tri-Rail? How do you ride a bike? So those videos are wrapping them up and sharing them as well. And then our mobile tours, which I know several of you participated, and those were a lot of fun. We did Port of Palm Beach, Brightline, the Boca Raton Station that broke ground, Tri-Rail, Palm Tran, and the Palm Beach International Airport. So another one, Melissa helped with coordinating a lot of those, and is happy that they're done. Yeah. Wow. So lots of stuff. And then, and finally, administer the agency. We went through and are still going through several audits. We had our federal certification that happens every 4 years. That was successful. We had our FDOT and TPA joint certification, which happens annually. We wrapped up our external annual audit, and we're also in the process of wrapping up our OIG, Office of Inspector General Audit, which is a random one that we got, but they go around the state and do that, they do that. So we're working through those. We updated our employee handbook and processes, update our board and committee handbook and training. We did a training and we had board members attend, so that was helpful. And there's a training video now. And then just provided over 40 trainings to board members, staff and other participants, opportunities to learn more about transportation. And so that's kind of a highlight of some of the activities. You'll have that as an actual report at our next meeting. And it's up to this committee basically to determine, to give me feedback on my performance and performance of the agency. At our last board meeting, the board did approve a 5% COLA for all staff. That includes everyone, including me. And then they also approved a 2% performance merit increase for eligible employees, which means those that have satisfactory performance and have been with us at least for a quarter, so they have an evaluation. But so the 5% does apply to everyone and the 2% is based on performance. So I guess with that, it's kind of up to you guys to discuss and determine if how my performance is.
Okay, that was a journey. Thank you so much. I can only, we can really see what's behind the curtains when you guys go through it like that, because we feel it. We can feel the momentum. So I would like to first, before we talk to our members here, do we have any public comments, anything at all? Okay, excellent. If you would be so kind as to put your card up, if you have a comment, suggestion or otherwise, or I'll just look at you. Hello, are you looking at me? Do you want, anyone want to speak, or cards up? I've got 3 of you here, so. Okay,
Is our lawyer on the call?
yes, he is.
I don't see him, so I was curious. Paul, does Valerie's contract say anything about this, or is it just the 5%, 2% option for us?
It's basically a 5%, 2% option.
And what's your annual salary?
187.
Vice Mayor, I will say as a follow-up to you, obviously, the contract can always be amended.
Well, yes, I just wasn't sure if it said anything on this issue.
Yep, so the contract says that when the board approves a COLA, it applies to all staff, including me. But if there's any performance raise, that's up to the executive committee needs to determine that and recommend it to the board. Because the board already basically approved a 2% for all employees, it's kind of up to this committee if they would like to approve anything at all, but the board has already kind of approved the 2%, so.
The 2% merit?
Mhm.
Okay, and the 5% COLA.
The 5% is like, yeah, for everybody, and that includes me, but the 2% is just for, I guess it's approved for all staff, including me, but it's up to this committee if they would like to, if they think I am satisfactory or not to receive it.
All right, anything else?
That's my question.
All right, Mayor Pinto?
Yeah, so I think you just clarified what I was going to ask. The 5% question is not in question for us today. That's been determined. What's in question is a 2% merit,
Mhm.
that or less or whatever.
Mhm.
Okay, so guess we have to talk about the wonderful job you've done this year. That's the way I feel about it anyway. I have no problem with you receiving the 2% merit. I spent 20 years on Wall Street. I learned a long time ago, take care of your good people, right? Because if you don't, you might not keep them. But no, in all seriousness, Valerie, I think you've done a tremendous job. I think you came in, you kind of parachuted into a situation where you had to do some things and kind of navigate and get your team together, and that took some doing to do. But also, many of us knew you prior. I think we had a lot of new board members that were really new to the TPA who really didn't know you. So you had to kind of demonstrate to them your capabilities and your professionalism. And I think you've done that. I really do. So my vote would be yes for the 2%.
Thank you so much, sir. Mayor Flores?
No, I'm very happy with the work that you've done, Valerie. I think you've brought stability back into the TPA, and we're very thankful for that. I'd like to make a motion to approve the 5% COLA plus a 2% merit increase.
Second.
I don't know. I just figured
I thought that was in question for us. just to call
Yeah, the
district merit.
5% is included. So we'll just say, I'm seeking a motion to
Just
approve
the
fiscal year
2%.
24, yeah, for 2% for the executive director, which is approved by the TPA at the governing board meeting.
I second that motion.
Okay, great. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I do, could I get, we have the motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
And then any opposed? All right, no one opposes, note of personal preference. I just want to thank Valerie. She went through the firing line to get here. I too was lucky enough to work with her and the previous executive director, and can't say enough about how well you've managed to handle yourself during this process, let alone come in and build what is now a very cohesive staff. The attrition was manageable. We can always expect that with the change of leadership. And I think that the group that is here and going forward is ready to roll. I think that our LRTP might be the best one ever, or more collaboration than ever. And even some of the goals that were held by the TPA a year or two ago are now being pushed forward with more zest than ever before. For example, a couple of years ago, we talked about having more involvement in the chambers. This morning, I was on a call at 8 o'clock in the morning, and there were 3 TPA staff on that call.
Wow.
Right. So it is really happening even at 8 o'clock in the morning. So whatever, we don't always see all of the things that staff is doing, let alone we had a couple of board members who were concerned about some of the things that FDOT presented this year. So what are we doing? We're doing a whole workshop about it. Right. So everything is being addressed by the people who are on this board so that we can all be educated. But the one thing I want to do is especially thank our ED and especially the staff. The most important thing is that the level of public awareness is much more than ever before. And you have a board made of 21 elected officials. Our job is to be a representational democracy. Our job is to bring your message out to the public. And Melissa and Cassidy, all the staff, the people behind the scenes that are producing everything that you put onto the website, it's amazing. And, even just a LinkedIn post now, it used to be maybe 1 or 2 people and they're lighting up like crazy, which means people are LRTP or TIP might actually be something that people know what we're talking about, right? Or that the TPA doesn't actually go and build the roads with a shovel, but what we actually do. So thank you guys so much for all of your efforts. The how to ride videos, people are using those to get around. So it is the mission in reality. And we want to thank you for your leadership. And I think it's very humble that you didn't ask for anything above 2% as well. So shall we move along?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, Paul?
I just wanted to add one thing as support for the record of your decision. As you know, I represent 5 different MPOs plus the MPOAC. And with an eye toward legal affairs, I want to tell you that Valerie has probably taken more care than any of the other MPOs that I work with toward assuring legal detail, compliance with federal regulations and state requirements, and her level of care in that area has been nothing short of outstanding.
Thank you, Paul. And yeah, I didn't even touch on that. Valerie's a duck, right? She shows up, she makes us all feel educated, appreciated, knowledgeable. And meanwhile, she's pedaling like crazy, right?
Under the water.
Yeah, under the water. We don't see it. And so I'm sorry I'm calling you a duck, but thank you so much for everything that you do. It's meant to be a compliment. We're so lucky to have you here in the county. We really are. So we look forward to many more years of your leadership. So thank you so much. We're going to move on to our updates to the fiscal year 2024 strategic plan. If you would mind presenting,
Sure.
please.
Thank you. And I just want to thank all of you again. I'm very, very grateful and I really, really enjoy this job and very passionate about everything that we do. And huge thanks to all of our staff, all the help. It's been a lot of stuff that we've pushed through this year, and all of you for all your time and dedication on this, and for Paul always being there to respond and help guide us. So really appreciate everyone. Thank you for the kind comments as well. All right. All right, so that was some highlights from this past year. So here's the strategic plan. I just want to mention, this is, we have a 2-year unified planning work program, which is basically our budget and everything we have to do that we're going to work on over a 2-year period, which right now we're coming up on the middle of that 2-year period. So fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, it runs from July to June. So this is basically the UPWP is what we basically we have to do it. We have to give it to the feds. We send reports on our progress to FDOT. We provide them invoices and we get funded through that methodology. Above and beyond that, we don't have to do a strategic plan, but we do one. We've done one for the past several years, trying to identify 3 to 5 specific things that we want to try to accomplish, not ongoing things, but more like key goals that we want to try to achieve in the next year. So this is above all the kind of key things that we're doing, but just a few key strategic things that we want to do. So first, I'm going to try to go to the next slide. Good. Okay. All right. So this is basically the things that we said we were going to do last year, the goals that we achieved and other things that we're still working on. So under engage the public, and again, these actions are modeled through the UPWP tasks. So we have an engage the public task with a bunch of stuff we have to do. And then here are a few key specific things that we're aiming to do this year. So one of them was collecting comments, and we surpassed our goal on that. So we received over 900 comments and our goal was 500. So we did really well on that. Increasing social media. We also, we were hoping to get to 4,500 followers on Facebook and we got over 5,000 and also hoping to reach 300,000 or 30,000 impressions. And we were able to get to 37,000 per month. Conduct outreach events, support campaigns. We were hoping to get 2,000 participants. We got 2,500. Increasing public awareness. We were hoping to have 75 TPA related media stories and we had 88. So we were on the news a lot. I know some of you saw us speaking. And we were hoping to get to present 20 times to our local municipalities and partners. And we actually did 33 presentations. So we're out and about presenting. I think it might be even higher now since we just presented again. But so we reached all those goals. Under plan the system, we have this goal of coming up with this countywide mobility vision and funding plan. We're still working on that. I think we learned through going on the peer exchange that this is a very big and lofty goal. And we really need to work with our transit agencies and our partners. And we're going to continue working on that and refining this, and especially through this long range transportation plan update. So that's something we're still working on. And we also said we were going to do 5 walk bike audits and we did that. We have the last one actually this Friday. So we did do those. We actually did one the other day and Mayor Reed participated in that. And then implementing and updating our Vision Zero action plan. We provided a progress report and we continue to work on that. Prioritizing funding. We said we wanted to identify and prioritize safety projects on high crash corridors and tier 1 ped bike network. We were able to prioritize 3. We wanted to commit to 5, but we have 6 additional ones that we're evaluating and working on getting them into the pipeline. So still in progress on that. Support grant applications. We supported 14 applications. I think our goal was 3. In past years, there hasn't been as many opportunities, but we got there. And MPOAC legislative priorities and policy positions. We were up at the MPOAC and participated in that for the policy positions. Under engaged stakeholders, we reviewed 81 projects. So these are projects that are up in the pipeline that are starting to get into design and they seek input. So we were able to review 81 of those. Our goal was, let me see. We surpassed our goal on that. We presented our annual report card, which is this, that's for our system report card on our performance, assisted municipalities, and also monitored the SCETS tax, which is basically for plant materials. It was a goal that had been requested of us. These are the last two, and then we can get into the new year. But in terms of collaborating with partners, we did do the local studies. We conducted events, completed the videos. We are still working on basically looking at how our LRTP aligns with all our local municipalities and their comprehensive plans, and making sure that those projects that we're proposing are in line with theirs or not conflicting. We did the tours, provided the trainings up to one of the things was to get a new workplace designation. We renewed our best workplaces for commuters, and we maintained our bicycle friendly business, but we didn't get a new one. And this is actually one that we're recommending to not continue, because there's like only so many designations we can get. So, but we still have those too. And yeah, we're working on writing our quarterly financial reports. We provided one last month. And then this is our strategic plan report card. So that's basically kind of where we're at. And the goal today is to share with you what we're thinking for next year, for this next fiscal year, as these goals. And basically you guys get to see it first, then we'll bring it to the advisory committees and ultimately to the board in July to kind of wrap up the new strategic plan. So for action number 1, we're planning to up it from 500 to 750 comments as our goal. Instead of tracking followers and impressions, we're going to try to track users reached on social media. So a goal of 125,000. We are going to continue to support outreach events and campaigns, but as I mentioned, we want to have like new things and not so much kind of just ongoing things. So we're suggesting to take that one out. We are also taking out the 75 related media stories, because we're going to continue doing that, but we don't want to drive ourselves crazy and say we want to be in 100 news media stories. So we're going to continue doing these things, but not have it be as a strategic item for the next year. We do want to update our About Us video, because things have changed in the last few years since the last one we did, and upping our goal to 25 from 20. We did do over 30, but it felt a little crazy. But so we're saying 25 is our goal. If we surpass it again, that's great. But you have a question? Sure. Oh. You can
use your microphone on, but you can just got more if you want to. It's up to you. I don't mind.
I guess since we're here, my comment is, do we need to continue to up these numbers? And the reason being is because it takes a toll on the staff.
Mhm.
And I think 20 presentations as a goal is not that bad. If we do go over and we do 30, I think that's great.
Sure.
Because it's a lot of the demand that comes from the public. And I think you guys, if people ask, you guys do it. But to continue to race it, I don't know that you have to. And then the other one, like the 750 comments from the public, it's great if we receive them, but
Mhm.
I don't think that you guys should be measured against the comments. I think the more that they participate, absolutely love it. But to continue to op it like this, I think you guys might be taxing yourselves.
Right, before we get to responding, Mayor Pinto, is your question in line with
Yeah.
Mayor Flores?
Regarding the point that Mayor Flores raised, your presentations, is there anything that says it has to be a staff member? You can't use board members to help do some of these presentations?
A lot of them are, basically like, for example, getting input into the LRTP or About Us. I think, like, for example, the other day, Mayor or Vice Mayor Sachs asked us to go present on the future of transportation. So a lot of them are informative about the TPA, but sometimes Chair Reed joins, but she's,
I don't say
yeah.
anything.
So
Yeah.
Well, no, I see your point you made. It depends on the
topic, yeah.
the kind of presentation, technical versus more, but just a thought, all right, that you might want to consider utilizing you have some great speakers that sit around our table as part of the board. And there was another question I want to raise that's kind of related, but I'm going to wait until you finish everything else on your present. Okay, but I'll come back.
Right. Do you want to go ahead, or do you want me to comment on the slide while you have it in front of us? It's up to you.
I
Wanna
was just
finish?
gonna say,
Yeah,
in
that's
terms
fine.
of when we go, those are great comments and really appreciate it, because we have been working really hard and if the exec committee feels like we should keep them at the numbers they are, and if we surpass them, that's great. We're happy to do that too. So. And in terms of presenting, definitely, as I mentioned, the LRTP is going to be a big effort that staff's going to be going out to the communities, and we'll definitely let each of our board members know and where you're in your community, if you can join us to speak on behalf of the, on the TPA too.
Well, when we talk about these presentations, is it to the same groups pretty much every year? Because you have to keep updating them every year, because you don't want to cut it, but you want to bring new people in is one thing, but if you're county commission every year, that's going to be on the list of whatever your 10 go-to ones every year should always be there. It's a question of how many additional do you want to do on top of the ones that are kind of essentially required.
Mhm.
So we look at it that way, not so much trying to increase it every year, but make sure that you're touching different groups and not just presenting to the same groups every year.
Sure. Yeah, they're kind of random, like for example, when the one we went to present to the when Village Wellington was doing their visioning workshop, and they asked, come present about complete streets. So things like that. But transportation is a hot topic right now. So a lot of people are like, can you come talk to us about traffic or about this or about that?
It's a
Yeah.
hot topic among, at least in my city, among our citizens. I spend a lot of time talking about, traffic, and it's, 20 years ago, people complained about it, and they're still complaining, and they have a right to complain because it's not getting better. So, but
But that's a good point to, make sure, because right now it's just, we're getting a lot of requests to present, and we try to meet those
but I
requests.
think that's a good thing
Yeah,
that they're seeking information. There's an interest there, and there's an opportunity to educate and kind of enroll support, if you will, for the
Mhm.
things that we're looking to do. So.
yeah. And as part of the LRTP, we definitely want to reach, and like to your point, making sure we're reaching different groups is where, we're trying to reach out to the different areas, not just those on our board, but other municipalities and groups as well that may not think about having a presentation, but, getting out to them too.
I think what you just said is key, reaching out to municipalities, those who may not have a member on the board,
Mhm,
especially, yes.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Any other comments from our executive committee here today? Paul, do you have anything you want to add? I'll take that as no, and we don't have any public, okay, and no one has joined us and no public comments. All right, well, if you don't mind, while we have this slide up, I'd like to talk about the social media platform and engagement. So social media has changed quite a lot since these goals were made, to the point where it's gotten a little contentious as well, right? So comments are not always a good thing either. So I would turn this on to Melissa and Cassidy as well, right? So we want community engagement. Is there another metric that we can utilize to understand how much we're engaging the community as opposed to social media? Because, you could do a video that has and it's a sunny day, and you have someone who hates sunny days. So all of a sudden you have 20 comments in the comment section about how dare you post a video about sunny days, right? So is there another way we can measure this?
Sure. So for the record, Melissa Murray, Public Relations Director. Yes, you're definitely correct. For specifically with social media, we have not measured reach before. And if you're not familiar with what reach is for social media, it essentially means how many people are seeing the content that you post on social media. So with the LRTP, like Valerie mentioned, we want to reach as many people as possible with that. And we'll be using social media to post surveys, opportunities for people to come in person, workshops, those types of things for people to learn more about the TPA. But yes, that's to your point, that's also why we increased 1A, because we want to gather more public comments through surveys, through our comment map that I know you share a lot, which we appreciate, as well as those presentations. The main reason and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the main reason we increased those numbers was because of the LRTP. We know that we're going to be presenting to municipalities, to community groups, those types of things, sharing surveys with the public. So there are also people who don't use social media too.
Right.
So
There are?
yeah. So my parents, for example, like they wouldn't know about a survey on Facebook. They would have to have it presented to them in a different way. So And then that's also why we want to update our video as well, because we do need to reach people in different ways other than just on social media.
Okay, so for my own knowledge, so when, if you send an email, you send the email out or update, you're monitoring the clicks and then how many people are clicking on the map and da, 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 da. So I personally, I would love to see that data too, right? More specifically, like this is, this is how many people are clicking on the comment map, right? Because I think there's some outcome studying we could eventually layer in time, so that if so-and-so is clicking on a sidewalk on 45th Street, is it fixed in 5 years too, right? So that we can not just measure our engagement, but our efficacy as well, to make sure that our community is safer for what we're doing. So not to add more work, but something to look at for the future.
Sure.
It's almost, what the curve of it looks like. But yeah, so social media has definitely changed so much in the last couple of years. So I'm glad to hear you guys are prepared for that. That's wonderful. Any other questions?
I guess for comparison, Melissa, I know this was one of your goals, 125,000. What's the current reach around?
I think, I don't remember it off the
Okay.
top of my head. I think it was a little over 100,000. Yeah, something like that.
All right. And then, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention that Melissa does produce a PIAR, Public Involvement Activity Report, every month. It's in the administrative items of our board agenda, but it has a bunch of all the kind of reach that has occurred over the last month.
Yeah, and that does include news media stories, which, as Valerie mentioned, we did take that out
Yes.
because of the increase. We don't want to tax ourselves too much on that, but that will definitely be a tool that we use for the LRTP, because again, that's how some people get information about community input and things like that. So we want to be able to use our media partners to share information about things like that.
Perfect. Okay, great. And then also, as far as the designation, I think that's a great call. There's no need to chase after something that's non-existent. All right, so we have nothing else. I've seen no other cards. May I get a motion to,
Wait.
nope.
I still have to go through the other 5
Oh, you
goals.
still have more? Oh, goodness, I thought you were done. My fault.
All right. So
There's
Yeah.
more.
there's more. There's 6 goals. So goal number 2.
Number one.
Goal number 2, plan the system. So we're still keeping this mobility vision plan, but really trying, I know that Palm Tran has committed to working on basically their wish list and vision plan and what they would fund with if they had a surtax over the next 6-9 months. And we're also, as part of our LRTP, we're going to be refining further and getting that call for projects and studying. We've studied US 1 and we've studied Okeechobee and State Road 7. We're going to be studying the other corridors over this next year for what would that enhanced transit be? What would those pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements be like? And doing a countywide TOD opportunities analysis for transit-oriented development, land use redevelopment opportunities along those LRTP 561 corridors that we had previously identified as desires. In addition, obviously, some of the things that are not really in our control, but when we start talking about newer technologies and drones and local circulators and things that can come and go, they're not so kind of permanent investments of things that we actually can prioritize. Those are things that Palm Tran is looking at, as well as mobility in terms of mobility zones, potentially taking away a low performing big bus route and replacing it with an on-demand local circulator. So those are things that they're looking at over this next year. So the goal is keep it on here, but hopefully align better with our partners that would actually be implementing this plan over this next year and as part of the LRTP. Instead of putting a number or upping the number of how many walk bike audits we do, we had 5 this year. We are actually going to create a selection process so that we can basically still ask for where should we do a walk bike audit, but better select the locations so that we are distributed in them evenly. So if we already did 2 in a certain city and they ask again, let's reach out to those who we haven't done one yet, or in disadvantaged communities or areas that obviously the ones we're doing, we know they need improvements, and it's in schools or different folks that have reached out, but trying to spread it out and have a better selection process for prioritizing them. And then the other thing, so we're going to continue doing our Vision Zero action plan. It's an ongoing thing that we do, but we want to do a speed management action plan. So this is an interesting thing that it's basically looking at our system of roadways and what the speed limits are, and are they really at the correct speed that they should be posted? And doing a further analysis into that and hopefully influencing the roadway owners. But there's a whole methodology to that, and it's basically a safety action that we want to embark on in this next year.
So we could wind up with recommendations for changing the speed
Yes.
limits?
So in some cases, they might have a posted speed, but the design speed is something totally different.
Um,
And then if we're really trying to be safer on that road, do we really need to, do we need to change that?
Interesting. Okay.
All right, goal number 3, prioritize funding. So
Funding. Ding, ding, ding,
yeah,
ding, ding.
so so for the first one, we're going to continue working on those obviously prioritizing safety projects on the high crash network. We have 6 that we're evaluating right now, in addition to the 3 that we committed. But one of the things that we're going to have to look at in this next round is basically we get to prioritize funding. Basically, we have our long range transportation plan. That's looking out over the next 25 years. We update that every 5 years, but that's our North Star. That's what's prioritizing our federal and state dollars on the state system and the state federal system. So that's formerly was our major projects list. It's still our major projects list, but then we decided to, and in addition to that, there's a transportation alternatives small grant program that we do a call for projects for ped bike, non-motorized improvements, safety improvements on or off system. In a few years ago, we created a kind of a subset call for projects called the Local Initiatives Program. The reason this was created, it's pulling from the same pot, but it was created because we didn't have enough projects. So we didn't want money that should be going to this county go somewhere else in District 4 because we didn't have a big enough list. So we did a call for projects and basically had people apply to us for projects, and we've been populating that list. It's not a standalone grant program, it's something we've self-created. So we have the local initiatives, we have the transportation alternatives, and then we have the major projects, which in 2 years ago, we decided to do a call for projects for that as well, called the state road modifications. But really what we found is that our list is so overpopulated right now and the projects are coming in so expensive. We have things like State Road 7, we have Atlantic Avenue widening, we have State Road 80 widening, priorities that are not FDOT priorities, they're TPA board priorities. They're high up on the list and they're coming in very expensive. And those are the dollars that we get to prioritize. So we're going to have to look at our funding programs and potentially put a hold on the local initiatives for a year or two, or until we get caught up, because we're not in a situation to really keep asking for more and more new ideas. We got to get caught up with all the, I forget the number that I mentioned earlier, but the hundreds of projects that we already have in the pipeline that are coming in more expensive than we anticipated. So that's a conversation. So the point is to kind of rebrand and re-update those programs. We're going to continue having our transportation alternatives. That's actually receiving more money now. So that's great. Doesn't compete with other funds, but the other funds that are coming out of the same pot, we kind of have to do the things we committed to before continuing to ask for new ideas. We still want to support and track applications. We did a bunch this year. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. So we're saying 5 instead of 3, but we did do a lot this year. We hope it'll still be a lot next year as well. And then we want to try to pursue a discretionary grant for TPA priorities as well. We haven't really gone, obviously we don't own or operate anything. So it's a little bit tricky for us to try to apply for something and then later, depend on someone else to implement it. We could get, and it's better to kind of collaborate and support and have a support role. But we do want to try to pursue some other discretionary grant and for one of the projects in our program. And one of the things we were thinking of, whether it's a raise grant or some other sort of grant, that's something that we want to do. And this past year, we've been really trying to catch up as an agency and put things in order. So hopefully in this new year, we can do that. One of the things that has come up from those downtown intermodal coordination workshops was we've heard a lot of desire for solutions on downtown Okeechobee Boulevard and a lot of different ideas. People saying the pedestrian bridge is going to solve it all. A tunnel is going to solve it all. This or that. So we said, let's this fall get together. We'll do a planning alternatives analysis. We'll hear everyone's ideas and we'll actually evaluate them and see what's what's potentially feasible, how much would that cost, and can we all agree on a solution, working with the city of West Palm Beach, with the county, with FDOT, with the developers along the corridor. Related's very interested, and that could be an opportunity for going after a raised planning grant, because if we can find a solution or solutions that those grants require a local match, which we're federally funded, so we can't match ourselves. But if there's a desire for solutions on that corridor, we could partner with the city, with county, with the developers, with others to reach that 20% match of the grant to study something more significant and potential solutions for that. So that's an idea that we have in the pipeline.
So it was
Let's do
20%.
this. Let's have her finish the whole thing, maybe make a note, put a pin in it. We
All
can
right,
always,
that's fine. I can,
okay, we'll come back to the slide.
no problem.
Okay. 4. So we are going to continue evaluating all those projects that we mentioned. We do we do multimodal scoping checklists. We basically get pinged anytime FDOT is doing a project in advance, and so we get to evaluate and provide input on those. But we want to really influence at least 3 projects, resurfacing projects, to incorporate additional complete streets improvements. FDOT has said, they're also running tight on funding because things are coming in more expensive, and they're letting us know, these projects, we're coming in, we have to do maintenance, resurfacing. We don't, and you come in and say you have all these other ideas. Well, while you're there, do lighting and do these speed tables and do all this other stuff, which wasn't in their budget. So they're saying, you're really going to have to couple this with your TA funding or other things if you want to do something above and beyond the resurfacing. Obviously, they're going to fix ADA ramps and connect a missing sidewalk where they can. But if it's kind of a whole bigger picture idea than what was actually just resurfacing, they're telling us to look for some other opportunities. So we want to try to influence at least 3 and hopefully match funding to do something above and beyond for resurfacing projects coming up. It's all a game with timing, because usually we don't hear about them until just a couple of years away, but TA is a program that's 3 years away. So maybe that's an opportunity to work with the local municipalities and do something better than what's there today. The last one's been on here for a while. This was something that I believe Mayor Grant had asked us to track, and we've been tracking it in the tip on how much money is going for plant materials. But I think we can continue to track it, but I don't really think it's a strategic thing that we want to keep pointing out in here. So we're suggesting to strike it. All right, 2 more. Number 5. So we did the how to ride. We want to continue assisting local governments with studies and plans, conducting topics of events on topics of interest. We've already gotten some requests. I know Mayor Weiss requested one on adaptive signal technology. So we're going to look at experts to try to host an event on that. We've had a few ideas come at us, so we're already looking into the new year. For number C, we did the how to ride mobility options videos. Something that we want to do this year is create a model transportation demand management policy. Downtown West Palm Beach, in partnership with the DDA, with the developers, with Related, the Economic Council, different folks have come together and established a coalition called the West Palm Beach Go Mobility Coalition, and they've asked us to participate. They asked us also, how could we help? One of the things that they want to do is create a transportation demand management policy. This is basically a policy that local municipalities can have that helps encourage other modes of transportation across various types of, with new development, with employers, with different things that they can do. And so we said, we'll propose it to our board, but this could be something that we could use our consultants to help and create a model policy using West Palm Beach as the model municipality, and then share it with all our other municipalities to adopt as well, that toolbox of things. So that's something that we want to do this new year. Conduct site visits to learn from partner agencies. That could be a field trip. It could be going to potentially maybe Miami or Orlando or beyond. I know in Orlando, they have, I've talked to folks there, and they have a lot of things going on in terms of not only the Brightline connecting there later this fall, but also they have Sunrail with TOD and other things that they're doing over there. So that could be a neat field trip as the board to go there and learn what they're doing and best practices. So that's something I think that would be great to do. And then we did the 4 mobile tours, and we can do more as needed, or maybe revisit, but we did a round at least this past year. Okay, And the last one, we want to continue providing trainings, supporting our board members to going to the NPOAC Institute. Several went this year, which was great. And also conferences, local workshops. So we want to keep that goal. We want to work on creating a consolidated accounting system and getting an actual online accounting system. So that's something we want to do. It's going to take a little time. We want to look into in our interlocal agency services and benefits. That's actually something that I'm going to talk about after this presentation a little more, but basically looking at how can we streamline some of this and what's kind of next steps on that. Training and succession plan. So one of the things in the OIG audit that they told us was, what's your succession plan? So we're going to look into that. I know other MPOs are looking into that as well, but basically we want to look at making sure we have processes in place and the backup for everybody here. So how do we do what we do? Who does it? Who's their backup? And who's, steps in if someone's not here. So having a more formal process of that. And then the last one's basically the same thing, but just being more specific of creating our strategic plan and providing this annual report that we'll present next month. So those are our suggested track changes for fiscal year 24. If you have any comments, or I know you mentioned earlier about the presentations, if that's something you guys feel we should keep at 20, we can do that. This is kind of the first glance. You guys get to see this before we bring it to the committees and board next month.
Ruth, do we have any public comment?
Do
No,
we have any
Madam
public
Chair.
comment? No? Okay, great. All right. So Mayor Pinto, you had your card up earlier?
Yeah, funding. I guess a few years, excuse me. At least a year and a half, 2 years ago, the board as a whole had a lot of discussion and focus around the fact that we have not, as a county, established a separate independent funding source for creating to life the vision that we have, the long-term vision of really upgrading and improving our public transportation capabilities, et cetera, et cetera. I guess my question is, where are we with that now as a board? Because, and I was unfortunate Commissioner Marie is not here, because this might be something she could give us insight to. But clearly, I think what I'm asking and maybe suggesting is if we could put a formal review process in place for this coming year for the board, this board, to make a determination of officially making that resolution and making that request to the county commissioners. I think we're probably too far downstream. Maybe we're not, but I'm looking at, is this possible that we could have this initiative on the 2024 ballot for our citizens?
I appreciate your question, but I'm going to ask our attorney to please answer what kind of a stand the TPA as a metropolitan planning agency could take on a ballot measure. Paul.
I had to unmute there. Yeah, there really is not much that we can do. The law has been gradually over the last 10 to 15 years tightened. And it used to be simply, well, you can't use public funds to take a position on a referendum. And now they're getting to the point where they're actually regulating the content. They don't want you spending monies to go out and engage in what they call electioneering, which could basically include simply providing an educational campaign. So we're probably very limited, and I think that the county or any municipality would be similarly barred from that kind of thing. We're probably going to have to look to some sort of private initiative.
I'm not following you, because what I'm suggesting is, I guess my question is then, how can this board officially take a position and make a request to the county? We have to be able to publicly take that position and determine collectively that's something that we want to do. That's not, if there's no initiative on the ballot, there's nothing that we can campaign for. But I'm not talking about us campaigning for it if in fact it is put on the ballot. I'm talking about creating a process where we can go to our county commission and say, hey, the TPA as an agency is part of our strategic strategy and where we think we want to go, et cetera. We believe strongly that we need to establish independent funding source as other counties have done and are in the process of doing. That's what I'm
Yeah,
suggesting.
I think I misunderstood the question then.
Oh,
If you're
okay.
simply talking about going to the county and proposing something, I think, yes, you can do that.
So that my
Paul,
question.
so I think Mayor Pintos is asking if this board could like basically pass a resolution telling the Board of County Commissioners for them to lead a ballot, but they've also said that they're limited and they can't do that. So we've been kind of going around in the sense of, because we've been, after we received the legal opinion from you in late 2021 about MPO involvement and basically leading this discussion that we can't because we're federally funded, but other than educating and providing a list of desires or plans that we think would be good for the future, in terms of the county commission, they've also said that they can't lead it. They're actually more concerned now. We have new county commissioners, but they're also concerned with the millage and things that are getting more expensive. So we're also concerned with the fact that the current surtax is going to be sunsetting soon, and there's no plan for the county to replace it. There's no discussion of that, and we can't really, meddle into their I guess, surtax. But could this board, I guess the question is, basically request the county commission to, what could this board do? Because obviously we have 5 of the 7 on this board of the county commissioners, but
Well, I think that the TPA can propose something to the county. And by propose something, obviously you have the possibility of simply passing a resolution and saying, hey, look at this idea. You guys go and do all the research. Or the other extreme would be to actually dig into it a little deeper and propose different alternatives for achieving it, that sort of thing. But the problem that the county is going to face, the problem that the TPA is going to face, and it isn't just a matter of federal law that controls this. There is actually state statutes that the legislature has put into effect in the last couple of years that really limit the ability of local government to do any sort of what they call electioneering. So once something is put together by the county, and they would have to be the lead agency to propose some sort of an initiative like a surtax. That's because of state law requirements. Once that's been proposed, then you run into the problem of, well, how do you educate the public? And even that is regulated by the state.
If I might, so for example, the recent bond that went through for affordable housing
Yeah.
that the county passed on a ballot measure was not spearheaded by local municipalities. It was not spearheaded, please let me finish, let me finish. I'm going to finish. I'm going to finish my sentence. It wasn't spearheaded by the county commission or local elected officials or any board like the TPA. The Economic Council actually did the fundraising for that. They raised about I think $1.4 million for the outreach for the community so that the community was engaged and educated. So I appreciate what you're saying 1,000%. Just I'm very aware of keeping our board members safe as well as the TPA safe. There are so many ways to accomplish it. However, it's, legally, we must follow along with the rules,
I'm losing something here. I'm missing something because I'm not suggesting anything that we should be doing that's illegal. I think it's one of the responsibilities of this agency as part of our strategic plan in terms of what our vision is for transportation of the future for this county to make a proposal like this. We've been talking about this. Other counties have been able to do it. We're too far downstream. I'm not sitting here suggesting we create a campaign and, we have to get the county commissioners in charge with the responsibility of putting something like this on the ballot. It's not our responsibility to do that. Our responsibility is to petition the county commissioners that we think as a transportation planning agency, this is important for our future transportation needs. That's all I'm suggesting. I'm
Understood.
not going beyond that. I'm not saying we have to go out with campaign signs or anything like that. Whatever the rules are, but I think we have a responsibility, if we believe that's something we need to do, to petition the county commissioners to do that. And I don't know any other way of doing it as a body, a board body, than creating a resolution. If this
I
board
think
says
our
we
lawyer
need-
has another comment. So should I, Paul, would you like to go, or I have Mayor Flores has his card up? Would you like Mayor
Let me
Flores
just,
to speak?
let me just follow up to Mayor Pinto's comment is, yes, I think you can pass a resolution and propose that the county looks into it. I think once you get too much beyond that, though, you're going to run into problems, because the initiative has to actually be proposed by the county. And then you get to, once it's proposed, how is it going to be presented to the public, which I think Mayor Reed that's kind of what you were, the problems you were pointing to.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Mayor Flores?
Yes, I have a couple of comments. I think the first one, talking about what we're currently talking about, the funding. I think we're putting the cart before the horse. We're talking about, I guess this particular conversation is about how do we lobby for funding? I think what I would like to see this body is actually do a needs analysis and take a deeper dive into what is it really that we're wanting to invest in, and what does that transportation look like in 10, 15 years, so that then all the municipalities and the county can come up with some sort of plan, so that then they can take the measures that they need to take. And not to say that this body does it, but we come up with a solid plan of what we're looking to, and then we find out where the funding source is going to come from. I
Well-
mean, I don't think we need to figure that out now, but I think what this body should do is spearhead a needs analysis of what the future of transportation. I think we've done that. We've talked about this a lot, but maybe create some sort of document where all the municipalities come together with the county and we create a plan of what.
We
that
have
vision-
that document. We have the long-range transportation plan, which will be, if we get municipal buy-in, which staff is planning on going to every single county meeting for it, as well as every municipal council meeting for it, and asking for everybody's project. That's kind of why we keep saying this could be one of the best LRTPs ever. It is Santa's wish list. Like, hey, 39 municipalities and county, what do you want? So that when we plan for the future, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, yes, the effort that we're about to embark on over this next year is that needs analysis. It's that, what does everybody want? And then also prioritizing that and evaluating those and figuring out the costs of that.
Does
over
that
the-
include light rail?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's over the next year. I don't know if Andrew, if you want to mention anything, it's your.
And also, if you remember in the presentation for the LRTP, when they came here to our board, it was included for what it could be in 10 or 15 years. Is it autonomy? Is it something else? Is it, robots? It will all, that's what we're aiming for.
Yep. Just to further elaborate, it's gonna be all inclusive in the LRTP. So when we have that needs plans, that desires plan, that's sort of your unfunded needs plan, right? So it has everything that is agreed upon to be put into that. And then when we finally have a cost feasible plan, what you'll see in that is what we can fund in the next 25 years. And then there should be also in there like an implementation plan. So what is that gap of what we can't get funded, right? So what other sources can we pursue out there for that, whether it's tax increment financing, bonds, surtax, and I'll have like a little bit more of a conversation on that, but it'll be a full list and it'll show you cost feasible, what we can already fund, and then what is that extra need that we right now don't have funding for.
And I think to Mayor Pinto's point, it is, I think that through this process, maybe as we develop a clearer picture of what does everybody want and how much does that cost and what is that, it's the whole education process through that as well. And this board could potentially pass a resolution asking the county saying, look, we have this comprehensive plan. We have everybody's needs and desires. In order to do this, we're going to need a surtax or whatnot, and directing them to help in that process with a formal request in that sense, whether that happens initially or that happens, later down the line of this effort that's going to be happening over this next year. I know that we're having conversations and conversations are happening on the sides with the economic development community, with the developers, and they're also looking into what's their role and how do they help spearhead this conversation, similar to the housing bond on, doing the part that we can't do, which is the campaigning, which is talking a lot about the surtax and you should vote for this or that, so getting them to, what's their role? And they're also looking at that as well, because Broward and Miami are moving forward.
Mhm.
And their counties did pass a surtax, so they are able to move forward with these enhanced transit plans and mobility plans, but we're still here. And we have to get that public buy-in. I think the public needs to understand this is where we're headed and we need this if we want things to get better. And so the elected officials need to hear it, the county commissioners need to hear it from the public. I think there's a lot of concern right now with everything being more expensive, housing and all this stuff. And there's fear of taxing people more, but there is the opportunity that could be a missed opportunity if there isn't a game plan for when this current surtax sunsets in the next year or two. When it runs out, it'll just run out and then the sales tax will get lower. So that's an opportunity to replace it and potentially for infrastructure and for
Right, but now we're
transit.
talking about the surtax,
Mhm.
which we can't do.
Yeah.
So I think what this board should do is focus on what the strategy and
Mhm.
what the needs
Mhm.
is, and make sure that we incorporate all the municipalities that don't have a seat.
Mhm.
But I'm sorry, real quick, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you again because the attorney is going to trump for all of us right now when it's on this conversation. So anytime I see his hand go up, I'm going to defer to Paul. Sorry, guys.
Well, actually, I don't mean to trump anybody. It's just background. It's just background information. You all will recall at the last TPA governing board meeting, when some of the individuals with regard to the commuter rail project in Broward and Dade appeared before us. And Clinton Forbes was also there. And of course, Clinton had testified that he was very involved working for Miami-Dade County when they ultimately successfully passed a surtax down there. Now, you may not remember, but I asked him the question, what was the campaign vehicle for doing that? How did the county get that through? And his comment was, well, he says, I do know that the laws have changed a lot with regard to what a local government can do campaign-wise from what they were at the time. And he said, I think you're going to have to look to the private sector. And I would say as a follow-up, you're probably going to have to look to groups like the Chamber of Commerce, the Home Builders Association, other groups like that, to actually not only finance but operate any sort of campaign once a proposal has been placed on the ballot.
Right. So, I think I'd like to speak for the board. We all feel the same way. We are one traveling public. Miami-Dade and Broward have a surtax which allows for operations and maintenance and matching funds, which we don't have. That's why a lot of it just ends the second you get to our county. It is obvious. I just wanted to make it, as clear as possible for anyone who's listening and for our attorney to share what the TPA can and can't do, because our executive director, myself, and about 15 other people spend probably way too many hours a week working on this, but I wanted it to come from Paul. I agree, we need the funding, but if you suddenly got the funding tomorrow, would all 39 municipalities in the county have every project ready to go, shovel ready to go? We don't have our wish list together yet. So the wonderful thing is that the TPA does have this long-range transportation plan, which if we get all of the municipalities to buy in, and they don't always provide all of their projects. We don't have all of the municipalities providing all their projects. The county comes in and they will send us everything, and then they'll do a bunch of it right before the LRTP closes. So we need that municipal buy-in. So that's why staff is going to be going to every single council meeting for buy-in. At every meeting that I'm at for League of Cities, I keep asking for people to be prepared. Let us know what you need and what you want. Because if you ask the residents for a bunch of money and say, because we're going to do good stuff with it, it's not enough. We have to clearly define where that money will go, and we don't have that yet. The other thing is there is a tremendous amount of push from the business development community and the economic development community. They know this is next. If they're putting in affordable housing, what's the point of building it if you can't get anywhere? If you can't get to work, if you can't drive anywhere? So it's not a tsunami anymore. I think it was a tsunami when we all still had power, but I think it is definitely, there's a lot of momentum within what we're able to do. Vice Mayor Napoleon, did you have some?
Card back down.
Okay, anyone else?
Well, I had a few other comments, but.
Yeah.
So that's my point. What you just said is that we need to come up with that list. We are not the funding mechanism. We're not going to be advocating for such because we can't, and that it needs to go before the ballot before anybody can even push for it. So that's mechanisms that need to be sorted out at a different point. I think our role is to figure out what that need is. And then the other thing I want to bring up is the mobile tours. Can you go back to that? And my only comment here is that you're always going to have newer people joining the board.
Mhm.
So maybe for this upcoming year, we don't need to do any mobile tours because you probably don't have that many new people, but at some point it would be good for you to get all the newer people engaged and to do the airport and to do the port and all of that good stuff, because as they're coming in, not a lot of people are very familiar with what we offer. And I think it was eye-opening. So.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, so Mayor Pinto, would you like the staff and attorney to look into what a resolution could look like as far as possibilities, timing, and what is allowed?
I think certainly as a starting point, that would be a productive thing to do probably. If we could do that, that would be good.
You got it.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anyone else? That was a lot. Great work.
It's definitely a hot topic, and you know, we've even in the peer exchange or in these areas that have been successful, the MPOs are their partners. They're doing, you know, land use studies. They're further in the line, further down the line. They're in the upfront LRTP process, so that needs analysis, but also then once the funding is passed, they're doing additional studies, but they're definitely not obviously can't be the lead, but they're not the lead and the quarterback on the possibility of a surtax. So.
Yeah, actually, this is the breakdown that you guys put together from Austin. And right here it says a strong transit advocate presence, both online and in person, platform to dispel myths, know the business community. So it's when we were in Austin, and I wish everyone could have come in our pockets. We asked again and again where their MPO was, where their TPA was. Nowhere. It had nothing to do with their MPO and their TPA. So a lot of what we're seeing with these transportation initiatives for funding are not bringing in the planning community. We just happen to be lucky to have one that cares. So, all right, count it up.
One thing we have to focus on is once we find out what the shortfall is and what our plan would be for the funds, if we get it, is along the same track, we should be identifying all the places we need to go pitch and talk to the public, because we have a good template from what they did in Austin is how they did their community outreach. And we should start planning what that looks like while we're also planning on how we're going to use the money. So that way we're not doing it in a row. We're doing it on two tracks at the same time. So once we figure out what we need the money for and how we want to use it, we're then ready to roll right into community meetings with people to convince people why it's a good idea. So we should do them at the same time.
I think one of the high level requirements we should create is don't use the money to build roads, because we've got money already to build plenty of roads. This is to build the rest of the transportation infrastructure, not roads. All right. And that's, if we look at the way money is divided now, 85 to 90% of the funds that are available for transportation initiatives are for roads. All right. So we're talking about a funding mechanism to really create a very robust public transportation capability and really make it a true statement where people can say, I don't need to take my car to get to where I want to go. There's public transportation out here that can get me there when I want to get there comfortably and safely. So that's just kind of a high level, what I think the focus should be in terms of if we're going to, pursue this path.
Yeah. And then the people who want to stay in their cars will have less cars in the way, because those of us that like public transportation will be on it. Just since the committee is done speaking, I just want to say regarding the strategic plan to our staff, great creative use of matching funds when we don't really have any, by the way. If you look back at what was presented, y'all are still doing it even though we don't have that. So I thought that was great. And then I like that we're focusing things with the words land use. I think land use is a much more palatable word for our community as well as our staffers and the different municipalities. When you start talking about things like mobility plans, mobility fees, impact fees, all that stuff, it starts to get a little muddy. Just making it about land use, I think is really great. And I am so excited for the TDM policy. So I think that is something that everyone can use. So these are really, really good goals that I think have the ability for all municipalities in the county to utilize to learn to move people around more safely. All right, anything else? Great conversation. Anything else from Paul? Nope. All right. So further, nothing. So let's get a motion. I'm seeking a motion to recommend the updates for the TPA's fiscal year 2024 strategic plan.
So moved.
All right, so Vice Mayor Napoleon has given me my motion and a second. All right, thank you, Mayor Flores. Don't everyone jump up at once. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. So we're going to move on to our information items. This is a great and really important topic as well. TPA health insurance and HR service update from our executive director.
All right, so this is a brief information item that I hope to come back to you with more information at our next meeting. But basically, as you know, we separated, we used to, when MPOs were created, when we were created, we were in an interlocal and basically hosted by the county. And we were county employees and we're on all their benefits and whatnot. But we separated and moved into this building in 2019. And at that time, we searched for other services, one of them being health insurance. So we're currently on Broward MPO's health insurance plan, and we tried to model it as much as possible as we could so staff wouldn't feel the impact from leaving the county. However, they have informed us that they will not continue to have us on their plan. And now so that ends in December. So what I want to come back to you all to talk to you in a couple months is, we're beginning to research now options. We've been looking at what other MPOs are doing. There's 27 MPOs in the state of Florida. The majority, there's only a couple that are independent, including us, Broward MPO, Metroplan Orlando, North Florida TPO. We've asked, Broward's the only one that's on their own. They have a lot of staff. They do stuff with their city. They're kind of in a different situation than us. North Florida TPO is with their Jacksonville Transportation Authority, which is a very large agency that builds roads and runs transit and does a bunch of stuff in North Florida in the Jacksonville area. And Metroplan Orlando is independent, but they have a cafeteria plan with their county for health insurance. Every other MPO is on their county's health insurance plan. So we've been asking several of our local municipalities if they would be able to, if we could maybe get into interlocal to be with them on their health insurance as a cafeteria or piggyback agreement. And the answer has been no so far. We asked the West Palm Beach GDA, they said maybe, so we're talking to them. We asked SFRTA and they said, no, they can't. They at one point were on Broward MPO's health insurance, but then they also got kicked off. So they had to petition the governor and then they had to petition the governor and had to, now they're the governor's state employees health insurance plan. So they're not an option either. Obviously there's the option of going by ourselves, but we're only 16 people. So coming from the county to a 16-person firm to get health insurance is going to be very, very costly. So we're researching this and hope to come back with options. I think the best option, I don't know if they'd be open to it, but something that we're trying to look into would be following Metroplan Orlando's plan, where they're independent, but they have a cafeteria agreement, a plan with the county for their employees to be on the county's health insurance. So I don't know if that'll be a possibility, but we are trying to see if there's a way we can do that, because we were employees, we had those benefits and we modeled after it, so we'll see. But that's the situation that we're in and we're looking into it. We still have our administrative services agreements for operating funds that we have split between 4 different municipalities. So that's, I'm looking at these different things that we have going on and seeing if there's a way to potentially maybe streamline it, but and then I wanted to mention human resources. So we have a very small, when we were at the county, we had obviously there was the county HR that we followed their rules, but we've been working really closely. Luckily, our general counsel has a whole arm of HR people and HR attorneys. So they've been really helpful. They reviewed and updated our personal handbook and policies. We've been working really closely with them. Also been there for any conflict resolution with staff and legal guidance, have represented the agency. They're always available to answer any questions, guidance, and also recently provided required HR trainings that we hadn't had. So that's been working pretty well. We also have a free employee assistance program, which is basically kind of, you can call and have confidential counseling on whatever you might be kind of going through. And that's available. One of the things, if it is a possibility to have a way to get into an interlocal for health insurance services, if that I want to see either with the county or with another agency, is potentially when we were at the county, we were on their system for like big group trainings. For example, they had a TED system that was a computer system that basically you have a login and it notifies you, you have to do this training for active shooter. You have to do the training for safe driver. And it's like videos with quizzes. So also FRS, like onboarding, that sort of thing that maybe could be something that we pay for, and it's hopefully a win-win. But that's kind of the situation we're in. And that was why one of the strategic plan items was to evaluate kind of these options and look at what's our path for 2024 and what's, what are our options? And that's something I want to present back to you at the next time we meet, where we're at with this.
Thank you so much. Do we have any online or public comments at all? All right, how about my executive committee? Do you guys have anything you want to share about this? No? Yeah. Thank you for taking the time to reach out to everybody. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg of folks that I think you've been reaching out to. Honestly, you've done a very good job researching it, and it's really unfortunate. It's a slippery slope, but I love that you're taking care of staff. All right, so that was it for our information item. And any other comments as we close out the day before I close the meeting?
I wanted to just mention, I would like to, I know we had set holds and some of them we didn't need, and I didn't want to have a meeting if we didn't need to, because I really appreciate your time. I know you're all very busy, but the next hold that we have is for September 7th. And so we can follow up via email, but if I wanted to see if that's a day that still works for everyone. And if not, we can try to look at if the week before is better in late August to try to meet and give you an update on this situation and any other things that, might be going on. But we had a hold for the 2 p.m. on the 7th.
So, if anyone's on any legislative policy committees for Florida League of City, there is a legislative policy committee meeting. It's not until 10 o'clock in Orlando the next day on the 8th, just so anyone knows. So if you're part of that, I don't see anything else. I know that we're all in September, we're all in budget land anyway. So I imagine most of us are close to home for most of the month of September. What do you guys think?
Yeah, if it's easier, we can send a doodle poll for just in case and still see if that one's an option, or if there's a day the week before, the week of the 28th, that might be better. But really, we do want to come back and provide an update on all this. So hopefully we have more information by then.
I think the earlier that's on the calendar, we'll
Yes,
keep it, yeah.
if it's on, it can stay clear. If it's not on, it'll be gone.
Okay, so keep it in the date is, okay. All
Mayor
right,
Pinto, does that date work for you?
September 7th at 2 p.m. Okay.
All right, so do you guys want a doodle poll or just leave it as it is? Okay, great. Just checking to make sure everyone got heard. Anything else? No? All right, very good. So next meeting is September 7th. If you guys have any questions about that, just let staff know, and they can always send out a doodle poll if your schedule changes. So we are going to adjourn. Thank you all so much.